Good morning, everyone. This is the 10 a.m. briefing from the Kerr County Response Management for the flood disaster. First up today, we have Sheriff Larry Letha.
Y'all ready? Okay. Once again, Larry Letha, Kerr County Sheriff. Again, thank y'all for covering this and helping us get the message out. I'll start first, and then our city manager will go next and give you some information, and then we'll finish with our Kerrville mayor. Okay, what I'm here to do, like I said, is give you all the most current updated information. Please bear in mind these numbers will continue to change. As I'm walking in the door, I'm getting texts. It's going to be like yesterday. I think these numbers are going to continue to change and increase as time goes on. But like I said, we'll do a good job on keeping you updated. Search and rescue operations continue with a full response from local, state, and national first responders. At present, there's over 400 first responders for more than 20 agencies that are working in Kerr County. We have more than a dozen canine working in and near the river. More than 100 air, water, and ground vehicles are in the field right now working on this search and rescue. As of 9 a.m. this morning, we've recorded 59 deceased in Kerr County. Among those who are deceased, we have 38 adults and 21 children. 18 adults pending identification, and 4 children are also pending identification. At present, there are 11 Camp Mystic campers unaccounted for, along with 1 counselor. We extend our sincerest condolences and prayers for every single family affected by this tragedy. And we continue to work around the clock and reunite these families. We will continue to our search efforts until everybody is found. Our missing person call center is open, and those reporting missing loved ones can call the number 830-258-1111. I'll repeat one more time, 830-258-1111. Please follow the Kerr County Sheriff's Office and City of Kerrville Facebook for your latest information. At this time, I'll turn it over to our City Manager, Dalton Rice.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you all for being here today. Everyone in the community is hurting, and we know many of you are locals or have some local connections here, so please keep everybody in your thoughts as we continue to navigate this very challenging time for our community. Search operations continue. Starting about 0600 this morning, we started putting boots on the ground. We have increased our number of personnel that are navigating the really challenging shores along the bank line, but we are continuing to make progress from west to east as we continue operations. What we really need from y'all is to really help us get the word out. We know that people want to volunteer, but what we're starting to see is personal drones that are flying. With these personal drones that are flying, that is a danger to aircraft, which risks further operations. So if you could, please pass the communication along that we need to keep these personal drones out of the sky. We have drones and assets flying. We want to continue to do that. For volunteers and donations, we do have a phone number, 830-465-4794. We can give you that number after, but if you want to volunteer, if you have donations, please contact that number and they will help get everything out. We have families who need to be reunited, and we are continuously making effort to make sure that our families are reunited. We want to continue to work together with our community. We appreciate everybody here, and we want to make sure that we stay Kerr united. I'm going to let the mayor wants to say a few words, and then I will take a couple questions after the mayor.
Again, thank you for being here. You know, I'm old enough to remember Fred Rogers, and he one time said, during a crisis, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. In Kerrville, those helpers are the city staff, county personnel, state agencies, and federal agencies. The entire Kerrville City Council is on site today. We're doing everything we can. Let me repeat something I said yesterday. In our Emergency Operations Center, it's not a bunch of different teams. It's one team. Our goal is to rescue those in peril and find those who are lost. If you are interested in donating to help those families who've been affected, you can visit the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. They've set up a portal for donations, and I understand our community, our state, and the world have been responding. Thank you. Kerrville's branch of the Salvation Army has been designated as our official partner for volunteer coordination and in-kind donations. They can be reached at a number very similar to what you just heard, 830-465-4797. Also, we have a website for volunteers to register, a different website. It's tcr.communityos.org. It's important to follow the City of Kerrville's Facebook page for updates. If you follow social media and are interested in such things, I may be too old to tell you this, but there is a hashtag. It's hashtag Kerr United. That's what we are. We're united to help those who are grieving and to find those who are lost. And now we'll open up to questions. I cannot answer operational questions, but I'm going to ask the city manager to come back up.
I'm not sure who can answer this, but we just talked with business owners who are very concerned not only for themselves but also for employees about how are they going to pay their mortgage, how are they going to pay their electricity. They've been having people reach out to them about their bills, and they're terrified that in the middle of all this they're going to get cut off or evicted.
We are working through everything right now. Currently our biggest focus is to making sure that we get families reunited with their loved ones. And so we are not going to stop until we are able to get those families reunited.
Question for both you and the sheriff. There appears to be a massive operation now in Center Point. Is that where we're seeing bodies recovered at this moment?
We are seeing bodies recovered all over, up and down. So as we make our way east to west, we have the entire pretty much span of operations. We broke it down into grids so we can recover those bodies. So yes, it is a full operation.
None as of this morning,
Yeah. One more question.
Yeah, well, one of the questions that still hasn't been answered 3 days into this is despite TEM's warning on July 2nd and July 3rd that something like this could have happened, that the threat existed, why that information didn't get down to the camps and why they weren't evacuated. Can you answer that now?
That is a great question, but again, we want to make sure that we continue to focus. We still have 11 missing children that we want to get reunited with our families. Until we can get reunited with their families, we are not going to stop. We are not going to stop until we do. So, thank you.
Quick follow-up question, sir. Was any emergency alert given out on the 4th that morning of? Did anyone get any alert?
You see officials there in Texas leaving the hall after they updated from a news conference. We know this is happening at 10 o'clock Central Time there in Texas, about 10:20. And a lot of questions still unanswered, people still trying to ask questions of officials, but search and rescue efforts are continuing to find missing kids and adults there in the hill country of Texas. So bringing it back here to studio with meteorologist Alex Forbes and I, the new information we got from that news conference, if you were just watching along, we now know that 59 people are confirmed dead in that flooding in the hill country of Texas. And for reference, this is just about northwest of San Antonio. 21 kids are among the 59 that were killed in these flooding. Absolutely heartbreaking. The hill country of Texas is a place where a lot of people go camping. It's a place for a lot of recreation.
Yep.
Campers, RVs. There was a very popular summer camp, Camp Mystic, there in Kerrville in Hunt, Texas. And that is where it's an all-girls summer camp. And that is where a lot of efforts are focusing because 11 girls are still missing from that summer camp and 1 counselor.
Yep.
Heartbreaking, Alex. I think I want to use you, right? We want to get into a weather discussion on this. one of the questions that reporters were shouting as they were leaving, were there any warnings given? What happened here? Is this common for this area of Texas? Were warnings given?
Yeah, so it's a fair question to ask. And I think as a meteorologist, and every meteorologist, whether you were involved with this event or not, needs to take a step back and answer it accurately. A flood watch was issued the day before, and a flash flood warning was issued before it. But I want to walk you through the timeline a little bit of what we saw. So the flood watch was issued at 1:18 p.m. on Thursday. So that was the afternoon before the 4th of July. This happened the morning of the 4th of July. It was about 12 hours worth of lead time. Now that the flood watch was issued for widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain, isolated amounts of 5 to 7 inches of rain. Now that was renewed at 7:58 p.m. and then the rain starts, and our first flash flood warning was issued at 1:14 for Kerr County. Now what I'm going to do here is focus specifically on Kerr County, which is where that summer camp was, where Kerrville is, and some of the other communities heavily impacted by this. So that flash flood warning at 1 something in the morning was issued for 1 to 2 inches of rain have already fallen, and an additional 1 to 3 inches is possible. All right. So that would put us in a total of about 5 inches for this event. That's what the expectation was at 1:14 in the morning on the 4th of July. All right. Went into the National Weather Service chat and did some looking around just to see what the meteorologists were saying at the time. And this was very much a now casting event. So basically what was going on was the National Weather Service was looking at the radar, looking at the estimated rainfall rates, how fast was the rain falling, and how much rain would it take to cause flash flooding, comparing all of those. And at about 2:30 in the morning, they determined that about 200% of the rain needed to cause flash flooding had already fallen.
Wow.
So that's when things are like, okay, you know, we need to ramp this up and start talking about this in a different way. So at 3:02, we get a message saying that, you know, a very dangerous flash flood event is unfolding. And we've picked up about 3 to 7 inches of rain so far, and there's no indication that that is letting up. So what I want to do here is I'm going to pull up a graph. This is going to be the Guadalupe River. This is going to be in Hunt. So this is about 5 miles upstream from where that summer camp is. There is no gauge before this, right? So there's no gauge upstream from the summer camp on the South Fork of the Guadalupe River to see the rise. That's going to happen 5 miles after in Hunt, which is what we're looking at now. So as I go through this timeline, watch the river level here as we are looking at it. All right. So at 3:22 a.m., so this is before we pick this up at 4 a.m., it enters minor flood stage, and it is forecasted to go into moderate flood stage, which for this river is 12 feet. All right. So it's expected to be above that 12-foot mark. They also extended the flash flood warning till 7 a.m. Now, just 30 minutes later, the forecast gets updated for it to go into major flood stage at 3:56, and at 4:03 in the morning, the flash flood emergency was issued. Right. So that was a pretty quick response to that forecast update. That flash flood emergency was issued for 4 to 10 inches of rain already on the ground, an additional 2 to 4 inches possible. That's what's called a particularly dangerous situation. And then by, you know, so that's 4:03, right? The river is still just getting into minor flood stage, that action stage. From that point to when it reaches major flood stage was just an hour.
Wow.
That was it.
So it sounds like what you are saying, based on this information, if we're going to give people the bird's eye view here, while there were warnings issued, it happened so fast.
Right.
The rain that came in, it crested so quickly. I mean, nearly a foot of rainfall.
Yeah.
And the Guadalupe River just exceeded its banks. I've seen time lapses of how this grew in just 30 minutes.
Yes. No, so that's a great point. This river there at that Hunt spot, it rose 20 feet in less than 2 hours, and 15 of those 20 feet were in a little less than an hour.
I have to ask, did the 4th of July, I mean, you think about it, 4th of July, right? Are you working? Most of us, we're here now, right, on a holiday weekend, but most people are not working. And, you know, while we do always have staffing in news and in the weather service, the same way police and fire would, at the same time for us, maybe our staffing's a little lighter. Could that have affected how things played out?
Well, so 2 things there. One, I want to highlight the fact that this happened overnight, right? So you're not looking out at the river and seeing it rise. It is dark outside. and it's a holiday weekend. That means you're not sitting here scrolling on your phone looking
Right.
at what's going on, and it's overnight. So you compound all of that. People just simply were not plugged in, and I don't think the forecast necessitated people being plugged in, right?
Sure.
When they went to bed the night before, yeah, you had the flood watch, you had the widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain, isolated 5 to 7 inches. That's not something you stay up for, though, and you watch. But going back to your staffing question, there's also been some criticism out there about the National Weather Service and some of the changes that have happened in the National Weather Service over the past couple of months. And I want to say this, just broadly speaking, to put it to bed. The staffing at the National Weather Service office and the Austin, San Antonio region that night, there was somebody there who was, I've got the chat somewhere over here, very much sending messages.
Sure.
They were actively forecasting it. This was not a function of the National Weather Service not being staffed.
Yes.
This was a function of a lot of rain falling very quickly and the models not being able to process how much rain was falling so quickly. And that's that. So the political undertones here,
Sure.
it
Doesn't bear weight to the situation.
doesn't bear weight. And to me, it is doing a disservice to preventing this from happening again.
How do we prevent this from happening again? Can we?
Yeah. So I think one of the things is we need, plans in place even on the morning of the 4th of July to respond to an event like this unfolding very quickly. I mean, 15 feet of rise and imagine that on the Chattahoochee, right? Like, is Gwinnett County prepared for that? Is Fulton County prepared
and
for that?
you guys, I mean, if you're thinking about it, putting this into a perspective or situation that we can all relate to here at home, think about even just a couple weeks ago where we got so much rain in such a quick period of time. Freedom Parkway flooded. It's a very relatable thing when you think about how quickly waters can rise.
And I'm sure those plans exist. We just need to be able to put them into action very quickly, even on the morning of a holiday.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what it's going to boil down to. Now, I would also point out it's a lot easier to Monday morning quarterback this than it is in real time. But, at the end of the day, the flooding is going to happen again.
Yeah.
And computer forecast models are going to miss things again. And you've got to be able to respond quickly to it. And I hope that, everybody who was involved with this can be honest about what happened, where the failure points were, so that we can prevent those from happening again.
It also just goes to show that, with the rise of AI and technology, so often we feel we're irrelevant. And I think we can kind of fall victim to this voice that maybe we don't matter because there's all this new tech, there's all these things coming in that can do our jobs for us, perhaps. This is a great example of how nothing can replace human ingenuity and human reasoning. You may have computer models that can do things we can't do, but when it comes down to it, our being able to deduce and assess a situation and work through, that is priceless, and we have to keep those wits about us.
Yeah, I used the analogy earlier with Judea. This is a function of like your check engine light coming on the night before and your engine exploding the next morning.
Right.
It takes that human mind to be able to process that, respond to it accordingly, and hopefully you get a better outcome than what otherwise could happen.
Alex, thank you for breaking this down for us. Guys, thank you for streaming, listening to us on the radio, wherever you're joining us from. It is time to take a break. When we return, we're going to get to your Atlanta-based forecast and the region around. We're also going to check in on some local news happening. So we'll see you back here after the break.